My favorite definition of democracy is from Winston Churchill. It's that democracy is the worst form of government, aside from every other form of government. It's really relevant, but the most basic definition of democracy is the Greek definition, which is just how the word is made up. It's the people, demo, and the cracy, it's the government, it's how things are run. And democracy is supposed to be people engaged in how their nation, how their people are run. The Greeks had direct democracy, but with modern populations it's not possible. It's representative. And the problem nowadays is our lack of engagement in our government, our lack of awareness of the issues in our everyday community, municipally, provincially, and federally, our entire state. And the fact that people are disenfranchised with how our nation is run, how our people are living. The fact is, I define democracy as a government by the people, for the people. And the fact that our people aren't engaged in it is making it something completely different, and I think that is a huge issue nowadays.
I agree with the majority of the rules in democracy, except for the fact that if you're not of legal age, you cannot vote.
Democracy is being able to vote for who you want when you're of legal age.
I don't think it makes sense that somebody who's 17, who could be smarter than somebody who's in their mid-40s, can't vote just because they're not a legal adult.
So in our most recent federal election this year, we had about 2/3 of our population of Canada vote in our government. And in this most recent provincial election in our province of Ontario, we had less than 50% of the population vote. And I think this demonstrates a growing trend, away from politics and away from interest in politics. It almost makes our political system seem a little bit outdated and irrelevant. So I think that if parties and governments need to keep themselves relevant, then they need to make a more active step in engaging the youth.
So one local issue I'd really like to discuss is the closure of a high school. And it's a really big, important issue around this town. It stirred up a lot of emotions and caused a lot of distress for the students in both TAS and PCBS, as well as any student in any other local high school. Why do I care about this issue? I think it's a very important issue because our local government has failed, in my opinion, quite drastically in comforting the students of PCBS and their families, as well as failed in doing it in a very appropriate way of closing the schools.
Not only have they not dealt with the students, they haven't dealt with the teachers. The teachers haven't been shown any sort of support or caring. The board hasn't shown any compassion. People who've been teaching their entire lives, their entire adult life, and they just assume that because the teachers are adults that they can handle a situation as emotional as losing what is your second home, and as schools often become. And this has had an impact not only on the students emotionally, but on the teachers educationally, which has impacted their ability to teach their students. When you're worried about where you're going to work next year, it's kind of hard to really put all your heart into a job. I understand the necessity of closing down a school. I just feel as though it could have been done a lot better.
A couple of issues. One was the windmills that might be put into Millbrook and other rural areas, and another was a new location for the dump because the current one is filling up very fast and we don't have any space to put another one.
Yeah, the people living in those rural areas don't want the windmills because land that could be used for food production, they don't think it should be used for these windmills, and there's a lot of controversy over the health effects that are there's not that much research been done into them.
We think that the government should put some more research into the health issues.
I just don't think that moving the dump to a different place is not going to solve the problem, because once you move it, it's going to fill up and you're going to have to find another location. So
try and slowly, steadily eliminate our amount of garbage so that we're more sustainable.
We would ask Dean Del Mastro what they would do with the garbage after the landfill is filled. We made up some solutions.
We'd also ask them what we're going to do with the recycling, because we're not doing very good in recycling. We only have 3% of all the bottles recycled. Even though we put most of it in the recycling, it doesn't get recycled.
we should lower our packaging and use like reusable things and have it so that water bottles aren't sold.
Don't you know, we're talking about a revolution. Sounds